Good morning, everybody. My name is Joshua Edwards, founder of Shop Talk 20. Welcome to the show this morning. I got a little bit of a different landscape background happening behind me. The weather's just been real nice these days, so I thought I would set up outside. But forget about all that. We have a special guest on the show today. I'm excited to be chatting with. Her name is Janet. And Janet, I'm super pumped to have you here. And for the purposes of this conversation and my tribe getting to know you better and what you're up to and all about, maybe give us the 411, who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Hi, thanks for having me, Josh. Good morning. And I'm Janet Pressacco. I live in Kingston, Ontario. I've been here probably about 25 years. I'm a career food and beverage hospitality person. I graduated in 1989. I'm going to date myself. Oh, that was from high school, but 1991 from hotel and restaurant administration in Saskatoon. So I've always followed my dream of the love of food and beverage. In Kingston, I've worked at Aquaterra, the River Mill, Tommy's. It was a diner way back in the day in the 90s. I've raised my kids, twin boys. They're 18. And just before the pandemic, I decided to open my own catering business in December 2019. And without that crystal ball, uh, what was going to happen in March, the rug got pulled out from everyone, but my business as well. So it's taken me a while to pivot, but I just launched a new product in March called Pizza in a Box. So that's
Wonderful.
411. Is that?
Wonderful. And I'm going to take it a little bit back because I want people to understand the context of the interest around food in the first place. Like where did that stem from for you? Like what was the moment where you said like I'm really interested in this industry and
Yeah.
pursuing this? What was that moment like for you?
Well, I was just out of high school, and like I said, I grew up in Saskatchewan. I come from a long line of farmers. My grandparents cleared their land, planted gardens, raised uh, all sorts of animals, like just basically lived off the land. And once I got into school, we it was it was a very comprehensive program where we studied under chefs, but also studied the front house and of operations accounting. Like it was very condensed, but it was that moment when we opened up our restaurant in the school where I thought, wow, this is exactly what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. And I was a ripe age of 19 doing
Wow.
tableside Caesar salad and steak tartare. So it was just a natural fit that I traveled across Canada doing. I've even when I worked in Banff, I wanted to work at the Banff Springs Hotel, and the only opportunity was in housekeeping at the time. So that's what I took. So I'm very well rounded and a very hardworking person at the same time. Hmm.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And you said like later on down the line like is when you opened the business. How long ago was that?
December 2019. So, like it'll be a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, kind of thing. So when I started thinking about it.
Uh,
So,
That's wonderful. And I'm curious because this is something I always like to dig a little bit deeper into is the what happened up into up until the action was taken because like a lot of people want to start a business, they want to take the step to do that, but there's something holding them back. They just haven't quite taken the step yet to do that. What
it,
can you look
yeah.
back to and say was the reason or the push that kind of said to you, I'm gonna execute on this and make it happen?
Well, it had a lot to do with the age of my kids. Like I wasn't the hands on mom anymore. There was an opportunity to rent a kitchen where I could service. I was at the Royal Kingston Curling Club where I was a member, where I had an audience, and that audience had tasted my food already, that I'd already volunteered for doing big dinners for bonspiels and closing dinners and such. And I just thought, what a great place to start. And that mostly I had an audience that already liked me. It was like a good fit that way. So, and
Wonderful.
with that being said, like I'd already, the year before I did a pasta bar for 150 people at the closing dinner. The year before that, I did a prime rib dinner for 130 people, and it was just, the reviews were amazing, and always been invited back. But it was just that I had that opportunity to rent the kitchen at the time and have that audience already that already loved me and knew what I could do. So, and
Wow.
my boys were old enough. They were actually old enough to come work in the kitchen.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Janet,
So,
I'm curious about this too, because like you said, you started in 2019, and then obviously like we go into 2020 and the whole world turns upside down.
yeah.
So then, navigating the pandemic, like everybody's experience has been the same but different.
Yeah.
So like for you, if when you look back to 2020 and then where we are now, like what's your experience been like navigating this new business landscape as a business owner, because it's the wild west right now for people. What's that experience been like?
Well, it's been scary, but also there's been so many opportunities that have been laid out, especially for women in business. I'll talk firstly about the Weekend Project from Queen's University. It's a government funded initiative for women in business, and it was to be instated before the pandemic even happened. So it was a good opportunity for me to join the cohorts there. I joined the mentorship program with Claire Bouvier. She has Feist. Um, that was my first soiree into this networking and seeing what the programs there could do for you. There's a lot of women that had to pivot, and not necessarily in the industry I am in, but in all sorts of industries, and to find that we all have the same kind of um, insecurities, and what makes us go every day, and we're raising children and have families and have the same worries but also have the same aspirations at the same time. And I joined the LEAD program, which is more comprehensive on looking into your business plans, and delving into deeper the financial parts. And that's where you and I talked about someone who introduced us. And again, these women were just so raw in how they were driven just to keep moving forward, even through a pandemic and all sorts of industries. And then once I realized that I did want to open up again, and that there was funding for me, that I I took an e-commerce boot camp. I took a sales boot camp out of like, and these women again just dig you really deep down into what it takes to move forward with your customers and with running an online platform and such. So that's what I chose to do. And some weeks I couldn't keep up with the meetings. They were so plentiful and yet so encouraging. And it was just a way for me to keep one foot in front of the other and concentrate on what needs to be done so that I can open again.
That's amazing, Janet. You
Yeah.
spoke to something that's like really key, and something that has really resonated with me in business, which is like the sense of community, the sense of belonging. We're sharing a lot of the same challenges, and we're working together, brainstorming, solutioning, that type
Yeah.
of thing. I'm curious because I want to ask a question from the perspective of impact. You know, you've been exposed to those amazing communities. You've been able to cultivate those relationships. How how has that impacted how you operate as a business owner now, and what kind of facets within your business has that sense of community influenced going forward?
Well, number one, they're cheerleaders. These women are behind me going, go Janet. They're my customers now, actually, which is really great. And even um, how do I put this? Like they've just lifted me up that I just never thought I could be where I am today. Like you open one day and you think, oh, I want to be open in a couple of years, or your goals. But now, like, I got a goal based. My goals are set for 5 years from now, where I'm hoping to expand into other cities. So they they like I said, they're raw. They tell you the honest truth about being in business, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it's rewarding to create something and to have it be your own, but also be so accepted by your peers as well, because they're your peers. And like I said, first of all, they started to become my customers, and giving me like the stamp of approval to move forward. Hmm.
That's beautiful. What
Yeah.
I'm curious because I love seeing those communities. I mean, obviously I'm not a woman, so I would be in those groups if I was. Like I think they're absolutely wonderful. What give me some insight because I'm not obviously in the group, but give me some insight. What's like a big um
A
piece
big
of advice, insight, something that you've gotten out of that group that you carry with you right now that stands out as a highlight? What would your answer be to that?
My answer would probably be the intuitiveness that everyone that I have met has. Like we're always faced with challenges every week, whether it be at home or with our kids or with our business or with our business relationships. They they just give you the strength to say this is okay, like this is what happens, like we talked the nitty gritty out of it, and went down and said like we need to keep going and what keeps us going. And we to know that you're not the only one facing these challenges makes it easier to go forward, makes it definitely easier to go forward, because in some of those meetings we talked about our hardships, whether it be personal or business. It was a platform to be honest, and from that you just draw the strength that you're not alone. You're in this with, you know there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of women in business today that have these struggles, and you're just not the only one. It's
That's
really cool. Yeah.
that's amazing. Like, and it's lined aligned with everything you've said so far. Like it sounds like the sense of community and having those raw and real conversations has birthed a zest for business and just an encouragement and motivation to keep going. What advice would you give to somebody in business who doesn't have that community, but they're open and they want to look for a group of people? What steps would you suggest they take in order to be aligned with something, a community like that?
Well, right now I have done that with people who have reached out to me because of We Can. I have led them to other avenues that I found with Paro, and it's Paro's Ontario wide, and it's also government funded. I have led them to my business advisors and my mentors there. Um, it's easy to find right now. It is so easy to find. It's actually an initiative that's been commissioned by the Canadian government to have X amount of women in business by the year 2023. That it's this has to be fostered, and it's easy. The avenues are there. They're completely there. And with Paro, they paired me with a business advisor who's a caterer just like me, who's launching products and who checks in with me once a month to make sure I'm doing my homework and make sure that I'm on the steady. And when a good friend of mine recently said, I'm following in your footsteps. And I said, good, I got places for you to go. So it's Josh, it's completely, there's so much out there right now that can be tapped into, that the resources and just the, even with Paro, I didn't know that there was a manufacturing facility I could go to, and she turned me in that direction, and it totally put my product together.
Awesome.
So it is. It's really, and I've recommended other women in business to that avenue as well as we can, as well as my mentor, as well as there's Kingston Economic Development Corporation who's helped me out quite a bit since I've started as well. So they're there, they're standing there, they're waiting for people to come to them and say, how can you help me? And
I love that.
they ask your challenges, what do you need right now? And it's a simple statement like that just opens up the floodgates.
I love that, Janet. And here's my hope with that, because like you said, like there are people readily available to help.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
one thing I've observed in the marketplace is imposter syndrome can sometimes be like a lengthy process. Like
Mhm.
people get stuck in imposter syndrome for months, sometimes years. And because of that, it prevents them from even reaching out in the first place for the help. So my hope is in people
Yeah.
listening to you talk, is that they'll
You have
say,
to be willing, and you have to open yourself up.
mm-hmm,
You have to, and you have to take the criticism isn't even criticism. It's just constructive. It's just loving. It's welcoming. It's engaging. When I say homework, it's great because they give you tasks. This is what you should be doing every day. This is what you should be doing at the end of the week. So I just love that the resources are here. And it was great that it was a pandemic because that was my job, Monday to Friday. Like I
wow,
said, I couldn't keep up with the meetings. There's lots to tap into, and that's how we got introduced as well, as to the Bay of Quinte marketing. Um, I enjoy listening to other entrepreneurs, and there's always something we can take from each other after our conversations.
totally agree.
Really
And
is.
and and you've come to Belleville um,
Yeah,
with your
recently.
services now. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I started with my friends in Ottawa, just just wanted to that they wanted just to taste my product. So I said, okay, I'm coming. So I said, here's my website, here's the details, order by this day, and I'll be there on Saturday. And it went really well. So I have some friends in Belleville, and I did the same. And it's Belleville's a little bit less of a drive. It's just 45 minutes from Kingston. It's easy to I'm just starting to see how easy it is to branch out just a little bit, but not get too crazy. So, and the one week, my friend Sarah tried the pizzas, and the next week she was driving to Kingston to get them. So she had a craving. That's how that's how my customers get hooked. They're so good for the pizza in a box. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And you brought something up that is now that now has me curious, which is around like your customer, your client base. You're obviously going into new markets.
Hmm.
How has that been from a business development standpoint? What's something that's worked for you from that sense? Share a little insight with us.
Well, it starts with your friends. Um, Again, they're always going to be your biggest cheerleaders. They've always liked my food. They've always liked what I've done. Um, but I have the biggest tool now is online. I have a website, and it's easy for people just to go order, say pick this date, and then I show up. I didn't realize how easy it would be. I thought it would just be this big monster that I can't tackle. But also, I do have the tools, other tools, as I got catering coolers. I can cool them off, put my product in, drive down the road, it gets there safely. So I don't know that I would go into Toronto just yet, but these smaller markets and just my friends in Ottawa are starting to tell their friends, and even in Belleville, that's how I'm just slowly going to grow because people are starting to notice me in Kingston already. So, is where my main base is.
Wow,
Mhm.
wow. I like that. Starting with friends and expanding from there.
Yeah.
That's great insight, I think, for somebody that's like, you know, they're they have an idea, they want to start something, but they want to know, like, how do I get my first customer? It's a question I always like to
Yeah, it's
ask.
usually your friends, isn't it? Well, with food, anyways. Everybody likes to eat. Well, and I learned that I was solving a problem with pizza in a box because if I can talk a little bit about it,
Yeah.
it's a home delivery system. It's a pizza kit. I I'm just looking into it now with the Queen's Law Society. I don't know if I can call it a pizza kit just yet because Little Caesars has it tagged or trademarked. So I have to be careful there. I can't advertise it as a kit. We advertise as a do-it-yourself right now, but it's everything you need to make pizza at home. So you have your fresh dough, the sauce that I packaged at the Ontario Agri-Food Venture Center. It's my own recipe. It's the first time I've ever written a recipe in my life. I always just kind of put things together. It was, when I say prime rib dinner for 130, I have what I would normally do, but I never wrote it down on paper because I know how to do it. But this time, doing 200 liters, I had to write it down. So we have fresh vegetables like banana peppers, red onions, mushrooms. We use Sita sausage, which is from Charlotte Lake or Titchburn. They're pretty famous in Kingston. They have great sausages. So we use their pepperoni. It's not greasy. It's very tasty. I've paired with a Ontario Water Buffalo Company out of Sterling with their water buffalo mozzarella, and they also have summer sausage that is really,
Mm.
really delicious, really delicious. And I traveled to Gailey in Sterling as well to pick up my cheese, which comes from Hamilton at Salerno, and it's just the best cheese I've ever tasted. And when you pull that piece of pizza up, it is stringy right behind. It is just full of goodness. So like I
Wow.
really did my homework, and so depending on what pizza you order, you pick your day, and I make sure you get it nice and fresh to your door. And it's a great thing now in the pandemic because I solve a problem. Everybody wants to know what to do for dinner. Well, here it is. Everybody likes to make pizza, but they're like, by the time you make the dough, by the time you get this together, it all comes ready for you packaged. So, mhm.
Wow. Well, Janet, my mouth is watering after that description.
I'll
I
have to
you,
drop you off a
you
box next time I'm in Belleville.
let people on this call know. Let me know, where do you go to order this pizza? Give us your website. Give us your social media information.
Yeah.
Where can people
Um,
go to get to know more about you
we're
and your service?
we're www.pizzanabox.ca. That's I bought a website. I thought that was the best way to go for me. We have a very big presence on Instagram. We're Pizza Box YGK, or Pizza in a Box on Facebook. Hmm.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, everybody that listens to this, I encourage you, go check out Jana's page. Go check out her website. Order some pizza. I'm going to go on there and order some pizza myself. That description was flawless. So I really appreciate you sharing with that, and I love what you're doing. I think it's really innovative. I love the richness of the quality of the the ingredients that you put into it, and I'm excited to try it. So I'm gonna
Thank
commit
you.
on here today. Then I'm gonna order a pizza, and I'm looking forward to it. So
So
um,
well, and there's lots of ways I can and go with this, and you touch on something, being innovative. I didn't know that I was being innovative with food. I didn't know that you could. So like I've really surprised myself as well. And uh the, another thing, like, because I'm a home delivery food service, I'm creating another product, and it's burgers. So just testing. We did it. We're testing it this week. My kids love it when I do I call it test kitchen days. But there's a local grass-fed farm in Wolf Island that I'm getting fresh meat from. And I'm pressing my own burgers and pairing it with a bakery and a few of my own little special recipes again. And that'll be new on my website coming this month as well. So lots of ways
amazing,
to make people happy with food.
amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Janet, thank you so much. I really appreciate hearing from you today.
Thanks,
You're
Josh.
just you're. I love that you shared the sense of community, how much that's encouraged you. You're doing some really amazing things in the community. I'm excited that you've come to Belleville. Can't wait to try the pizza, and I wish you the very best going
Thanks for
forward.
having
Thank you
me.
so much.
Thanks for having me.